Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Animal Mother. But anyways, okay, so Boo versus Terradine, first match. And that's on an old replay set. Okay, so we're going to be loading into game 1 now. Stay tuned. Okay, so spawning up here in the top left at the start of the series, we have our red Zerg, Boo. And in the bottom right, in the orange, we have our meching Terran. It is Animal Mother. I'm not sure if he's going to be meching, but that's what I know him for. He's very much a mech player in all matchups from what I know. I've never seen him play, but... Alright, so it looks like he's going to be SCV scouting right off the bat, going gas first, which does lead me to the fact that he is going to be meching. It's normally what we see. Hey Raj, like, we respect McDonald's employees, young and old. You know, once a McDonald's employee, always a McDonald's employee. Just don't expect to get your 50% off. Alright, and yeah, Boo's not going for anything too crazy himself, just getting that spawning pool down. And going for hatch first. Boo should know that Animal Mother is a meching player. Dude, it's gonna be $15 in like 2 years. Alright, first command center coming down for Animal Mother. Getting at that Reaper. We don't have a factory just yet. Can't really afford it. It's going to come down in a second, I believe. And we'll see what build he chooses to go for. Mech is pretty hard to work in TDZ. You really need to put on a lot of pressure because Zerg always has, in most games, I would say like Zerg would have the advantage going into a later game versus mech. And that's kind of where you try to get to as a meching player. But you really need to kind of do some damage early, put on some pressure, and make it so that the Zerg can't have all the tools they want. Ooh, almost about to lose this Reaper here. Pretty unfortunate, actually. Does get it away. "5 years ago, I was 2 years out of high school." You could have condensed that a lot and said, "I got out of high school 3... Wait, what? 5 years ago, so you're 7 years out of high school. Oh. Alright, first Hellions coming out here, and we do have a second factory on the way, along with a reactor, and Boo sees all this, so he knows this is going to be that pretty famous 1-2 build that we used to see a lot from players like Innovation. And Boo's going to be going into a Roach 1 to counter this. Or I guess, well, not really countering, but just transitioning. And we do have some Cyclones coming out now, so ideally what you want to do with this build is just go over and pressure your opponent. Just make sure that he's not over-droning. A lot of times you can just straight up kill the Zerg if they don't have enough roaches and lings. Because the thing is, like, you don't want just lings and you don't want just roaches. You need a nice mixture of both. The roaches to do damage and the lings to surround and just hold everything in place pretty much as the roaches deal that damage. But this is a very strong build from Terran, or at least it was. Not very meta anymore, I'd say. I don't really see many players doing this that often. But our meching Terran Animal Mother is always going to be doing whatever he can to make mech happen. You tell him, Raj. Alright, so Boo's a decent amount of roaches, even a Ravager out here, and 12 more Lings on the way, and I think he does have full vision of where all these units are. I'm not sure exactly what Animal Mother is waiting for. I guess just wants to kill off that Overlord first. And he also doesn't want to go up a ramp and then have all his units get surrounded instantly. All these Lings are going to come down and they'll actually catch out these Cyclones over here almost. Gonna surround them. They're doing a decent amount of damage, but they can't stay here for long with those Hellions. And they will meet up with the Roaches. And finally, the armory does finish, so these Hellions can turn into Hellbats. But still, I think with this flank here onto this Cyclones from the grass, these units are going to get cleaned up. And they didn't really do a whole lot of damage. That's not really what you want to happen. Right. But this doesn't mean Animal Mother's out of this game by any means. Like, this is ideally not what he wanted to happen, but he's still fine. He'll still be able to hold on. He's getting out some more factories, and I don't see a transition from Boo into a higher tech just yet. I don't see a layer yet, unless I'm an idiot. No, no layer. So that means no muta's going to be coming anytime soon. Okay, we finally do have a layer starting. But he will be able to get out whatever he wants after this. He doesn't really have a whole lot of gas to work with. Just now getting his 5th and 6th gases. So it's really going to be up to Animal Mother, I think, to just transition well into a later game. It's really about the composition with mech and the amount of units that you build for this composition. So if Boo goes into Hydralisk off this layer, then Animal Mother's really going to need to scan or send Hellions in or something just to see what he's doing and know what units he needs to respond. Because if you go for mass tanks versus someone who's going Mutalist, the Cyclones are going to, you know, pretty much just die to Mutalist. They can't really fight them straight on. And you're going to need to produce 4s if that is the situation. With the 12 Roaches that are coming out on the field, I'm going to believe that this is just going to be for more Roaches, and looks like even going into an infestation pit. So maybe getting out Infestors or just trying to get in straight to Hive. That is a pretty greedy way to play this matchup though, I find. And no 4th base from Boo, as they say it. Trying those over. And it looks like Animal Mother's just gonna move out and harass with a small force of Hellbats and Cyclones. Not a bad move. These are kind of expendable, or I wouldn't say expendable units, but they're transitionary units. Like, you just need them for the stage of the game to basically not die to the Zerg. Unfortunately for Animal Mother though, a lot of these Zerg units are rolling out on the map. I'm not sure if you've quite seen those, so he could possibly lose his food base if he's not very careful. Couple siege tanks getting out, and I mean, Animal Mother could definitely die to this if these Ravagers get in. That's definitely enough Ravagers to kill all of the siege tanks that are set up here at the natural. Animal Mother will see this though, as they will attack this food base, and I don't think there's any way that food base gets away with all those biles. Meanwhile, we do have Animal Mother moving in here, picking off the food base from Boo. Not many drones going down just yet, but that food base is going to mean a lot of lost larvae, and Boo's decided to head back. Boo definitely has a lot of units, but still, I feel like this is exactly what Animal Mother wants to happen at the moment. He's getting out his tanks. He's getting out some Wood Mines too, I guess, to deal with any air transition. And Animal Mother just picking off these hatcheries can delay so much mining and so much larva production from Boo. Boo blocking off the way into the main here. All these units going to get cleaned up. I would say this was a fairly inefficient army trade, but killing those hatcheries was a really great move. And his third base is still alive. It's really going to be up to Animal Mother on whether or not he can hold this. These siege tanks are going to have to be in a great position, as this is a lot of Ravagers that's heading across the map now. Oh, they even make splashy noises when they go into water. Okay, these siege tanks are moving out. This is a pretty bad spot. None of them sieged up just yet. One sieged up. This is a lot of Ravagers, and they're going to be able to kill off so many of these tanks so quickly. Tanks siege up, a lot of splash damage coming out. Widowmine's even dropping, and they're going to kill a lot of these Ravagers, but still, these tanks cut out of position in such a bad spot, all of them dying so inefficiently. And I think this is going to be the end of the game here for Animal Mother, as you won't be able to secure a third base, and therefore won't be able to secure any gas. He's getting up some starports actually as well, but unfortunately I don't think he has enough to hold on here. 3 tanks and a couple of Widowmines aren't going to be enough to hold off this huge flux of Ravagers, and they will break down the wall and get in. And I think this is going to be a good game. Animal Mother scans for reasons unknown, but he should know that this is the end for our fellow mecher. If anyone's in the Villa sub, please spam the Villa emotes in the chat. Okay, yeah, I definitely don't think there's any way that Animal Mother could hold on so far, but he's gonna try his damnedest, and I respect that. Okay, so he does clean up all these units, but that's a lot of damage taken. 34 SCVs to about 50 drones. So Boo should feel free, even though he lost all of his, or not all, but about half of his hatcheries. I mean, he has gotten them back. So he's going to be mining again at a normal rate. And he has a lot of money in the bank. Boo's, I would say normal response to mech is always go for like a very early aggression versus it. He doesn't really like to transition into those later styles. Really prefers to kind of stay on this low tech and just out-position the mech player and just kill them if he can. So finally, Animal Mother getting saturated back on 2 bases, and he will be producing Banshees. This is very interesting. And no Hydras just yet from Boo, but 4 Queens at a time. I'm not sure if he's seen those starports, but still. This is going to be a lot of units, and with the amount of Ravagers he has, it's definitely possible for him to potentially bile some of the Banshees. 4 coming in as well. Decent Widowmine hit, killing about 6 lings, not the worst. Alright, and this wall is not done just yet. Tanks sieging up, pretty well spread out, but still, I feel like Boo has enough that he can break it if he so feels like. But Boo kind of staying back a bit too much and taking a lot of extra damage from these siege tanks. Gonna be losing a lot of units, but the Ravagers do come in and they will start picking off these units. First 2 Banshees do pop and they will hold this off, but how much damage can these Roaches get done in the meantime? And his barracks even going down there too. I mean, he's gonna have to remake that if he wants to add on any more additional factories. He is on about 5 fact at the moment, so he will be able to produce enough, or probably even more than he can actually afford to. And finally, Hydralisk Den coming out here for Boo, so that means we will be able to finish this off in time. As he's not going to take too much damage to this Banshee switch. You don't have speed on the way either. Cloak is researching, but it's going to be a while before Cloak goes into effect. And by the time it does, Boo should have enough Overseers, enough Spore Crawlers to really deal with these Banshees. He's down about 30 workers, but he's going to try to make this work. Alright, so 1 Queen out here. He's going to try to fight away at these Banshees. I mean, it's doing a decent amount of damage. It will go down, but the more damage you can get out onto the Banshees, the better. And one of them will go down. Queen range OP. And meanwhile, we have some Hellions running by and killing a lot of drones at this 3rd base. This is actually very good harass, and I think this can get Animal Mother back into this game if he keeps it up. And he's going to get into the natural too, and these drones are pretty stacked on these mineral patches, so a lot of drones are going to go down. 20 so far. Can he make it up to 30? I definitely think so. 31 drones going down in total so far. Not any more going to get picked off at the moment. I think most of those Banshees died. Okay, one of them did survive somewhere. Here it is. But 31 drones in total, actually almost evening up the worker count. And he does have a... Is that a 3rd CC? Yeah, it is. So I guess his CC from earlier survived, actually. I didn't even realize that. Really needs to siege up his tanks in a good position, though. This third base is not very holdable versus mech, even though this is kind of a choke. These tanks not sieged up in time, and Boost Force is going to roll in here and crush this little mech army. And there's a Hydralisk out now. No detection at the moment, though. So that means these Banshees will have 3 rain. Though they could run in and pick off that third base if they wanted to, but I don't think Boo feels comfortable enough at the moment to kill it. He did lose quite a lot of drones to that harass earlier on. And, okay, finally detection comes, and that means these Hydralisks will be able to clean up the Banshees. He's trying to stutter step them back, but unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. And all of these Roaches and Ravagers are going to kill off all these poor SCVs and mules, gunning down civilians in typical Zerg fashion. And that CC does it. It finally goes down. And without a third base, Animal Mother knows that's it, and GG is called. Okay. That was a Boo one. Yeah, it was a pretty good game though from Animal Mother. I was really surprised at how well he played going into that later game. He actually almost made a comeback. If he had his tanks in better positions and maybe a bit more walls off, or walls up, sorry, I think he could have survived a lot longer in that series. I'm not sure if he would have won, but still, he made it a lot more believable. Okay. Oops. So, going to be going into our next game. This one's on Defender's Landing. So, alright. So, down here in the bottom left, we have our Zerg player. It is Boo, currently up 1-0. And over here in the top right, we have our orange mech Terran. It is Animal Mother. Alright, so looks like it's probably going to be another gas first, as I expect. Going to be trying to go into those mech units as soon as he thinks he can. He's a mecha at heart. He's going to continue to build those factory units as much as he can. And this game, it looks like Boo is doing the build that every single Zerg on Allen does on this map, every single fucking game. It is going to be that build that we've seen Sue use in GSL like 11 years ago on this very same map. Or no, I don't even remember what map it was on actually. I don't think this map was in the GSL pool. I doubt it will be. But anyways, it's going to be that Roach rush where you get those 4 Ravagers and you go over to the other side of the map and you just win. Sometimes they hold off the initial 4 rushes, but then you just make like 10. So, welcome to animeland.tv. I'm gonna go away from this website now. This looks like a virus. Okay, and actually gonna preemptively put a bunker on the low ground. Looks like, yeah, he did SCV scout, and he's seen those 2 lengths heading across the map. So he knows it's one of 2 builds, either this build with the Ravagers or just a 14 pool. But not going to be a 14 pool this game, and actually a bunker on the low ground is a bad idea versus this build, as the Ravagers can just kind of pick away at it and keep going in. They don't need the high ground vision. And actually that bunker won't even be able to finish. Those Lings will kill the building SCV. And not microing back that Marine, not going to be able to get out enough damage, and that bunker is not going to finish. You still don't see... Okay, finally a factory goes down. First Marine... well, I guess that's the second Marine goes into the bunker. And he's keeping all of his SCVs here to repair. He did scout the interior of the base, so he does know it's going to be that Roach push. We'll have to see how well he holds us off. I think in theory, the bunker on the low ground doesn't work, right? I guess if he gets the siege tank up pretty soon, that bunker can't buy a lot of time. But still, I think it's a lot safer to put it on the high ground. But that's just me. And, I mean, I don't know. We'll have to see. There's 3 Marines in that bunker already. And it looks like Boo's actually just going to be satisfied to pick away at the steeple for now. I think his time is much better spent trying to kill those SCVs so that they can't repair. Okay, so the bunker will go down, and that will supply Black Animal Mother, meaning he won't be able to get out of the tank in time. Oh, and that's a very, very juicy supply depot if Boo decides to go for it. I don't think he can cross a ballot from anywhere just yet. And let's see what Boo's going to transition to back at home. Okay, he's just going to keep going full out with this rush, building more Ravagers. Sometimes you see Zerg players transition after this build, but it's still very viable to just go straight and just, you know, keep building more and more Ravagers and try to win. I have no clue whatsoever what Shortland is linking. Losing a Ravager there, not very good for Boo. Ideally, you want more and more of them so that their corrosive battle damage keeps getting, substantially more, I guess is their correct term, as the game goes on. But losing another Ravager there, and I think Boo realizes that, okay, GG is called. I feel like Shortland just sits here with this on mute and just talks. Uses this as his own chat room. Which I guess I don't mind. You did cheer me one bit, so you know, I'll suck a dick for a bit, I'll tell you what. Alright, so series currently tied up 1-1. Oh, thanks, Raj. Okay, so now we're going to be getting into our last game of the series. What the hell did I just do? Okay. I think I just restarted. Okay, yeah. And it's currently 1-1. Alright, so to introduce our players, we have here in the top right side of the sequencer, which is our red Zerg, Boo. In the bottom left, we have our orange Terran, is Animal Mother. Thanks. Twitch really appreciates it when I have +1 viewers. I usually get an email from them and they're like, "Hey Siegfried, nice job. You got some viewers. Good job, kiddo." I'm like, "Thanks, Twitch." So it looks like Boo's hoping he could grab a 3-win versus our Terran player here in that last game, but unfortunately, the Terran outfought him mentally with his brain. And I don't think this is a good map. Sorry for Mech if you're playing in TVT, but in TVZ I really feel like this is a pretty Zerg favored map, unless you want to like play Bio. I do feel like Bio is an okay style versus Zerg on this map. Sorry, but I doubt at a moment there will be playing Bio. Probably just gonna be back. And Bio is not the greatest versus Zerg on here, and Mech is a lot worse. It's just so easy for Zerg to get up so many expansions and really just macro a lot better than you. Okay, so SCV Scoop comes down and you'll see that it's just a standard build for this game. And it looks like it's just going to be a Hellion opener here. Probably going to be going into a 1-2. Though we don't see a second gas. Okay, never mind. There, we have the second gas started. It's a caster's curse or something. And there we go, we got the switcheroo occurring. And you're going to start making another reactor there on that barracks, so you can switch it over to the other factory, and it's going to be another 1-2 style. So we'll see how well Animal Mother can make it work this time. He's getting the bunker out front to deal with that Zergling. I think he only has one Marine actually at the moment. So these 4 links can do a lot of damage. And that bunker's definitely not going to finish. Unless Animal Mother wants to sacrifice like 8 SCVs to finish it up. But yeah, that thing is going to have to be cancelled unless these 2 Hellions come out and save it immediately. And Mad Max Hellions are coming in. And looks like the Lings are going to run away. And another swap over occurring. Oh. Why did it just make the bit noise now? It didn't when Rob cheered me. Maybe it didn't have... Oh, it must have been when I had it in a different, whatever. But thanks for the cheer, Lumia. Appreciate it. Okay, next time I set up these scenes, I'm gonna have to make sure that, you know, people can see my, what's it called, selling out, or see my selling out, I guess. I don't know where I was going with that. Alright, the other side of the map we have a Baleen Nest coming here for Boo, as well as a Roach Warren. Different response from what we've seen last time, and I'm interested to see how this is going to work exactly. I'm not sure if he's actually going to be using the Baleen Nest, but he's building it. And got some Hellions and Cyclones. Gonna probably wait for 1 or 2 more Cyclones before he actually heads out. Whenever I do this build, I usually wait till I have the 4th Cyclone before I head out. Just because the Cyclones are so important to this push. They're the main damage dealers. The Hellions are just there to dissuade Lings and to tank a bit. Ideally, you want the Cyclones to stay alive for as long as possible. Ideally, you don't want to lose any units when you're, or I mean, like as few units as possible. It's okay to lose the Hellions, but the Cyclones you want to keep alive. And the Bree finally killed. Boo's already on 3 bases, floating a lot of minerals actually. What's up? What's up, Boo? Got to spend that money. And he's actually going to be heading across the side of the map towards Animal Mother's base. Don't think it's the best idea, unless maybe he gets some sort of flank, but not going to get one. A lot of these Lings going down for free, and that's a lot of larvae dead. Boo's going to have to head home. Some more roaches coming out. He's ahead in drones at the moment, pretty badly. Another cheer from Shortland. Wow. Thanks, Shortland. And this mech army does head up the ramp here. Some corrosive bows going down, actually hitting one of the Cyclones. Only one of them though. Alright, so those Cyclones are going to target down those roaches as quickly as they can. Those Hellbats doing a pretty good job tanking, and pretty decent trades here coming out for Animal Mother. I really feel like he should back off after this, because these Queens and Ravagers will be able to kill at least a couple more of these Cyclones. Alright, so we've got some more Hellions coming in here, and now I think is the time to re-engage, but not having all of his units together. He should feel fine, just kind of backing off. He killed a lot of units there. Most of these Cyclones have at least 1 kill. And those are probably a Roach or a Ravager, so he's done a decent amount of army damage, so we'll be able to secure his 3rd base. And that's forced Boo to build a lot of Lings, and it looks like Boo's going to just mass up some Banelings here. And we've got Roach Speed on the way as well. One thing Boo does that a lot of Zergs don't do is he just kind of stays on Roach Tech for quite a while. Normally what players tend to do versus mech is they go for a quick tech to try to gain some sort of advantage in the game. So most often I think you see either Hydras or Mutalisks. Okay, so it looks like Boo will be transitioning into that Hydralisk tech. And Hydralisks are just all, overall very good versus most mech units, very good versus siege tanks. Very good versus, you know, any sort of mech air, especially with how strong Liberators and Banshees can be. Really good idea to just, you know, have Hydras out on the map. That way they can't switch into any sort of mass air style and then go for BCs or something. But this is just going to be pretty basic mech here. Again, there's +2 vehicle weapons and his first siege tank's on the way. I believe Animal Mother did scan a couple times. I'm not sure if he's seen the Hydralisk Den, but he should. He's doing the correct response, which is to start building siege tanks. Well, he needs to make sure that his units actually are at home. They will force the Zerglings back, but that's a lot of Banelings, and this is not a good position to be in for Animal Mother. Actually going to catch out some of these Banelings here, but these Banelings are going to roll in, and versus the mech army that's not splitting, it's going to be a lot of Baneling hits coming down. Still, it looks like these Cyclones will be able to clean up most of these units. This is still a lot of Ravagers, and Boo is still trading pretty good versus these units. Gonna lose a lot of larva though. I'm not sure if that was worth it for Boo. He is down in supply at the moment. Yeah, kind of throwing away his army there for nothing. I thought he was in an okay spot. Maybe if he had Baneling speed, that engage would have been a lot different, but fortunately most of the Banelings got picked off right before they could get to the fight. And most of the, or not most of, but a decent amount of the Cyclones still surviving after the fight will make this follow-up push a lot more strong. There's some siege tanks finally coming out in the map now. There's not a whole lot of Hellions here, or Hellbats. It's about 5 or 6. And if those die really quickly on, like they tend to do in fights, they're not going to be able to deal with those Lings very well. And that means those siege tanks will not get good value. Actually losing a lot of the Lings before they manage to get on top of the tanks. Corrosive Bow starting to go down. Doesn't look like they're actually targeted onto the tanks, which is a big mistake there by Boo. Tanks are pretty clumped. I'd like to see him on Siege 1 and move it away. But I don't think he's going to be able to end the game here by any means. He's still getting very good trades with these units though. That siege tank has 8 kills, that one has 3. Yeah, they're... Alright, some more siege tanks coming. Not sure about this still. He is gaining a pretty good position, and he is building 3 siege tanks at a time. And he will have +3 vehicle weapons here shortly. But still, 32 Lings on the way, and even with that Blue Flame Hellion upgrade, the Infernal Preigniter, as the game calls it, it's still going to be very hard for him to deal with, all these Zerglings. Once these Zerglings get on top of the tanks, oh, I guess, well, I thought Boo would have more to deal with that. He had a lot of money, but unfortunately not able to secure the series. Animal Mother going to take that game 3. Wait, did they make some of the, like, emotes and the gifs just for cheers? What the fuck? Neat. Okay, just logging in again. We'll start on the next match in just 1 moment. Okay, next up is going to be World is Doom versus Terradine, or otherwise known as Animal Mother. These are both on the old client, or old patch, I should say. Okay, so we'll be going into our first game here of Animal Mother versus World is Doom. So down here in the orange again, we have an right. It is Animal Mother. And I guess Drumhead was here somewhere? I don't know. And up here in the top left in the teal, we have our teal, or I already said teal, fuck. We have our Zerg player. It is World is Doom. I just think of all these like words that that are good words to say. You know, like for example, stating out the color or like the position. You know, it's generally something people like to see. Okay, so World of Zoom wants to defend his hatchery. Looks like he was tabbing out. Okay. Until I crack open another cold one. I'm not actually drinking, this is just monsters. Alright. So I believe World of Doom is at least Masters 2, maybe 3. I haven't really seen any of World of Doom's games, so this is going to be the first time I've actually watched him play. He's fairly active in All-In. I'm just not very active in like any of the peep modes or anything, so I don't often get to see these players, aside from when I'm casting events like these. Okay, so Reaper coming out here from Animal Mother, and probably going to be another mech game. I mean, this is a great map for mech. Definitely probably one of my favorite maps that they've released in Legacy of the Void so far. And not a lot happening so far. Yeah, it's really hard to fill this dead space when when I'm solo casting. I can just talk about the fact that there is this dead space in me solo casting, and then eventually this gets to a point in the game where I can talk about things like right about now. So another 1-2 build coming out here from Animal Mother. Going to be getting out those Hellions and some Cyclones. Going to be going over some more Harass as we've seen in the previous 2 games. Animal Mother actually almost gets a drone. Pretty nice. Forces him to build a Spore Collar, sorry. It will obviously be cancelled, but still. Money is money. And that Reaper's just going to stay around. Oh, actually, Animal Mother doesn't look like he was paying attention at the moment. Losing his Reaper, and that's pretty crucial, as we do see World of Doom going for that 3rd base pretty quickly. It's around the standard timing. But still, if the Reaper was there, that would have been delayed by quite a bit, hopefully. But it doesn't look like it will be this game. And first couple Hellions coming out here. We actually have Overlord speed on the way here for World of Doom. Interesting, looks like he's going to want to make sure that his scouting is on point. And a couple more Hellions coming out. Looks like after his orbital finished, Animal Mother didn't start building any depots, so looks like it's going to be slightly supply blocked here in a minute. Oh, I didn't... Does that create a full wall off there? That's cool. I didn't know that. I'll have to do that next time I play. Looks like at the moment, Animal Mother's just going to go Overlord hunting. Though these Overlords have speed, so this will be actually kind of annoying as they can fly back here, and some Cyclones do like... Oh, actually, not macroing 100% correctly there. So gonna lose that. That's unfortunate. Yeah, I seen what you said. I'll make something funny actually about that. I was thinking about that today when I was washing dishes at work. So yeah, hopefully you guys will see something funny later tonight related to CTL. Please laugh. Alright, so we have the first push coming up here. There's a couple lanes in the mineral line from World of Doom, just trying to do a bit of harass damage. And a lot of queens out here, and queens are great for dealing with these early pushes. They're very microable on creep, and you know, that transfuse energy can really swing engagements because you often don't really notice, like how much energy the queen has, and so the queens can have a lot more health than you anticipate. But still, we don't have any other units here at the moment here for World is Doom. 8 roaches coming down, and these will come down to the natural, but I think this third base is done for. And this is definitely what Animal Mother was hoping for, and he's going to kill a lot of roaches too, as the roaches are getting way too close to these Hellbats. These Cyclones really need to leave now. They've done their damage, but here, oh my god, I didn't even notice, but there's a Ling run by, killing a lot of workers here for Animal Mother. And even more continuing to go down. I think this could be game. He's losing way too many workers than he can afford to at the moment. He killed the third base, but losing all of these workers, I definitely don't feel was worth it. And mech units may be cost efficient, but you need an economy base to like produce them from. Just because they're cost efficient doesn't mean they're good in small numbers. It's like, I also just tried a new flavor of Monster that I found today. Not that great. It's like the orange one. It's called Chaos. Meh. I'll give that one a 3 out of 10. Okay, Lair coming up here for World is Doom and 2 Evo Chambers. I am going to guess that he's probably going to be transitioning into some Roach Hydra play to deal with this mech. Oh, I guess I was completely wrong, and we're going to have a Spire coming out here with about 10 Ravagers on the way too. So just going to be some Ravager and Noodlisks. And actually this push looks pretty dedicated. He's pulling a couple SCVs with it. I guess Animal Mother really feels like he needs to get a hold on the game. Really like to see him send those actually 4 Cyclones over immediately. It might just be 4 units, but 4 Cyclones is a lot of units. Or a lot of, you know, money rather invested into units. And we don't have either of the 2 counter-tech units out. And these Cyclones actually getting picked or caught out. They're going to fight with these Ravagers. They might be able to kill 1, maybe 2. Okay, they killed 3, but not going to be able to kill any more. And that was pretty cost inefficient for Ravagers, or for Cyclones, sorry. And there's no other units here. As I said, you don't have any of those like counter-attack units. And Mech has 2, which is the 4 and the Siege Tank. And that's to deal with either the Hydras or the Mutalisks, respectively. Or I guess it would be the other way around. But anyways. So, looks like Animal Mother does move back, but still he lost a decent amount of SCVs if that push as well. Currently down to 18 workers. And his third base is even being blocked off. I mean, that probably won't land anytime soon, but this is still going to be a tough game for Animal Mother to come back. I really appreciate him staying in the game, though. You know, with mech, there's definitely a lot of things that can happen. And we don't know everything there is to know about mech versus, you know, Zergan specific. I think there's a Protoss in this group, right? Yeah, Micro. I think he's Protoss, yeah. So hopefully we get to see some mech versus Protoss. I'd love to see it. Alright, so this looks like to be a desperate last push here from Animal Mother. First Mutalisk is on the way, or sorry, just not the first one, but a couple of them here. And yeah, those Cyclones, they barely do any damage to Mutalisks. And I think if these Mutas and these Ravagers and Roaches here, it's probably going to be the end of this game. The hatchery does go down, but still, a lot of mech units lost, and still no real economy to back this up. He doesn't have the worker production that he needs. He doesn't have the bases he needs. It's going to be very, very far behind. And it looks like, actually, rather than going for that 4 option, Animal Mother's just deciding to go into Widow Mines for the moment, as he doesn't have out his, he does have out his armory, sorry, but he doesn't have any tech lab factories. So he won't be able to produce any 4s. So I guess Widow Mines are going to be his, you know, makeshift answer to this air threat. A couple more factories are on the way, but I don't think Animal Mother can really afford to make from them. Only on 27 SCVs and 3 meals at a time. Okay, all those widow mines do start to burrow. One of them gets picked off. Oh. One of those widow mines gonna get their shots off. And those meters are gonna keep harassing. Looks like they could even pick off this barracks if they choose to. And we've got a 4th base coming up here for World of Doom, and he's reclaimed his 3rd base for the 3rd time. Which is the charm, haha. But nearly doubling the supply of Animal Mother. World is Doom, in a pretty solid place this game. I'm gonna keep repeating things, well, like Jacob Tutu. If anyone's seen that Canadian television series. Right, some missile turrets finally going up, and the first 4 is on the way. What else we got? He's getting +1 melee attacks, and he's going into a lot of Zerglings, which can be good, especially versus a player trying to transition into a lot of throwers and tanks, because that's probably what Animal Mother is going to try to be going for, although he does have a lot of Widow Mines there, so these links could actually be a pretty bad solution. And the mutas fly in, and they pick off that missile turret before it can get repaired. There's no floor nearby, no missile turrets, no Widow Mines nearby, and these Mutalisks are going to have free reign. They can even pick off this natural CC, and if it does, you know, that's going to be bad news for Animal Mother. He's not going to have that 3 workers at a time production that he desperately needs if he ever hopes to claw back into this worker count. And yeah, these Mutalisks are just doing work. Oh, he actually had to lift up. Oh, I don't think there's any way if the 4s spawn over here, they can't actually get over here. Rebuilding this 3rd base, and he scouts, and he notices that, you know, his economy is very, very far behind. And that's gonna be it. So, World is Doom taking game number 1. Okay, whenever I log in next, we will continue with game number 2. Okay, so loading into game number 2 here. Okay. So, spawning up here in the top left, we have our Meching Terran, Animal Mother. And then the bottom right, the Teal Zerg, it is World is Doom. So I thought that last game was like pretty heavy in favor of World is Doom for the majority of it, but for the first bit of it, I would say it definitely could have gone either way. If that huge Ling run by hadn't gone off near the start, I think that game could have been totally different. Hopefully Animal Mother can play a better macro game this time. Maybe make sure his depots aren't down, make sure his defenses are more on point, and we'll see what he can bring. Meanwhile, World is Doom going for that hatch first. He knows that Animal Mother is a mech player, so he doesn't really have much to fear out of really early aggression. It'd be pretty sick though if he just randomly brought out a Fury Axe Reaper. That definitely catches opponents off guard, I imagine. Alright. And being meticulous, Animal Mother is going to SCV scout. I appreciate his attention to detail. He's trying his best, making sure that he's not going to die to any you know, Ravager Owens. And first Marine coming out here. I don't know exactly where that's rallied to. Let's see. Just right over there, I guess. Probably just gonna scout for some overlords. And command center does go down. Nothing crazy happening at all. Nothing fun to talk about. Just macro. Just macro. Oops. How do I, fuck, I don't know. I was gonna say, how do I, like, look around? Like, you know what I mean? Like, swivel the camera? I don't know, we'll find that out later. Oh, that'll be the special treat for the next cast. I'll swivel the camera at some point. Overlord speed on the way again. Delete and insert. Oh, sick! Ah! Oh, that's not insert. Wow. I could just like make a motion sickness cast. Just like constantly be going like all over the place. If you have motion sickness, please don't watch my stream. Okay, got a decent amount of Zerglings on the way actually, and World of Zoom is still only on 2 bases, despite it being about 3.5 minutes. Okay, finally that third base does go down. Interesting to see that the third base is taken around the 3:30 mark this game, as opposed to the first game where it happened around about 3 minutes 10 seconds. It's a 20-second difference. Really makes you think. And it's also interesting to transition of time where initially people would just float the barracks and send it out when they were playing mech, but now they're just using it so that their walls are cheaper to make, which is very interesting. Roach Warren coming up here for our Zerg player. And we got about 4 cyclones out at the moment. They actually picked off that Overlord. It's pretty unfortunate. Let's see. Looks like World of Doom is hoping for another Ling run by this game. Having all these Lings just waiting here. They're going to wait for that move out. And another Overlord actually going down. Fortunately, these Lings will get found pretty much immediately, as Animal Mother actually had them A-clicked just around his base, trying to make sure that nothing can run in again, and certainly doesn't want the same mistake as last game to happen. So picks off a couple Lings, nothing critical, and those Lings are going to head back and try to make their way into the base, but Animal Mother does have a wall off, and he does have units coming, so, you know, once these Hellions are done, they're going to be going over there, and they're going to be shooting their lasers, or their fire, sorry, those aren't lasers. I do not see... Okay, never mind, he does have an army. I was going to say I didn't see one in Bread Building, but I guess I just wasn't paying attention. And here we go. Some Ravagers now. Really needs to... Okay, there he goes. Morphos in. He should be able to pick off this third base. I don't think those units are actually close enough to stop this from happening. And actually some of the Ravagers are going to take some damage from the Hellbats. Ideally not what you want to happen. And yeah, I feel like World of Doom should be pretty comfortable with that. Gonna try to push his way up here, try to make something happen. Fortunately gonna take a huge amount of corrosive battle damage. These Cyclones gonna try to do their best versus this, but I don't think this is enough to push through this. Okay, gonna sacrifice the Hellbats there, and just leave with the Cyclones. Good move there. And his third base is coming up, so he should feel pretty comfortable. Now, this is the next stage of the mech game. So as a mech player, you have to scout at this point. Ideally, what I think players do is scan the main around like the 7-minute mark, maybe 7:30, and they see what tech is coming up. Because around that point is when the Zerg player is going to try to choose their tech that they want to go into. So, you know, that'll be when their Spire comes out. That'll be when the Hydralisk tank comes out. Stuff like that. And that's you need to play obviously reactionary versus stuff like that. And unfortunately, it looks like Animal Mother's just going straight into his next step rather than anticipating the Zerg's next one. Building 2 starports, so he's going to be transitioning into mass Banshees, it looks like. Okay, actually getting a reactor on one of those starports, so maybe trying to get out some Vikings as well, and just, or maybe Liberators as well, and just go into a mass air style. And if some water mines beneath this can be very deadly. This isn't a typical mech strategy, I think, though. Very intriguing. And this third base here for Worldless Doom is going to be very late. He is ahead slightly in workers, as we do not see Animal Mother consistently making them. I'll say that's his one mistake. I always like to point out other people's mistakes for some reason. I noticed I do it a lot in casts. But I guess if they were watching them, you know, they might be able to be like, hey, you know what, he's right. I'll build more workers more often, more frequently. A decent amount of Ravagers, though. What's that, like 3, 6, 9? That's like 10 Ravagers, at least. That's a decent amount of them. And I don't think we have Cloak just yet on the Banshee. Looks like he's just going to target down the hatchery and then try to leave. I love this style of play. It's like playing... It's like you're Pult, but you're playing mech. It's pretty much what that is. Okay, and we have first couple Liberators coming out now, and they're not as good at versus mutas as they used to be. So if they get enough mutas out, this is going to be pretty hard for Animal Mother to make work if Worldless Doom can't split his mutas properly. But vice versa, if he accidentally clumps them up a couple times, maybe takes a Widowmine gets hit by some Liberators, you know, this goes back in the Worldless Doom's favor. But still, he is very far behind on his third base, actually trying to double expand at the moment. Meanwhile, we finally have Animal Mother landing his base. Again, still just not building workers consistently is a huge issue, I think, with Animal Mother's play in this series. And the first couple of mutas are going to come out, and they're going to pick away, and they kill Cyclone already. Alright, so a couple Liberators coming out now, and those mutas are stacked. Though I feel like 2 Liberators versus 6 mutas is not a fight the Liberators can win. You need to be in, like, not even numbers, but just slightly below the muta count with Liberators, I think, to deal with them well. At least if in low numbers. Like, obviously, like, probably I think like 15 Libs could beat like 30 mutas. But, anyways. So, actually going into... Wait, what the hell? Oh. He was just moving over his starports. I thought he built like 5 starports. We see a couple of Widowmines out now, and that's a lot of Ravagers actually coming for the front. And there's mostly only Liberators and Hellions here, so that's not going to do very well versus this Ravager force. And this could actually be a pretty sticky situation here for Animal Mother. He's actually very heavily supply blocked after losing so many supply depots in his wall. And Worldless Doom does have a better economy than Animal Mother at the moment too. Actually on 4 bases at the moment with 50 workers. Or 53, sorry. And these mutas are going to continue to gain value into this game so long as there's no floors on the field and not enough Liberators to contest them. And unfortunately, I think Worldless Doom has them kind of pinned here at the moment. Can't really do a whole lot. Huge Widowmine shot actually blanketing those Mutalisks. Losing about 3 or 4 of them there for a couple missile turrets. Not the greatest of trades. But here, now we have kind of the air superiority coming in for Zerg as some Corruptors have finally started. Corruptors do very well versus any Terran air units pretty much. Like Vikings are okay versus them, but you know, if you don't have... If it's just air versus air, generally I think the Corruptors would win if you split them well enough. It's really the Widowmines and the Thors that count for Corruptor versus Corruptors. It's less about the actual air units, but rather the supporting anti-air. Okay, so we have +2 coming out here, and actually +1 melee queued after that. And +1 flyer attacks. Very interesting. Personally, I would have, if I were Wilda's Doom, have chosen to go for Carapace instead because of the amount of Widow Mines, the amount of Liberators, and those mutas are all very clumped. If those Liberators get a complete volley off, that's going to be deadly. But it doesn't look like they will. Okay. And one thing to note is that this army is mainly just Liberators and Hellbats. There's no tanks. You really need some tanks to deal with these this huge mutaflock, and finally that 4 is out. So 4s do a lot of damage versus versus any air units really. They're actually pretty good units now. They consistently go between being worthless and being okay. But yeah, with the amount of roaches that are out now, it's going to be pretty hard for Animal Mother to really deal with them. I mean, obviously Liberators can kill them, but Ravagers can move fast enough to really try to dodge as many corrosive battles as they can and just kind of get around everything. And some Hellions trying to get in here, sneak in and get some harass damage done, but they will be spotted and probably picked off pretty soon. Getting a couple worker kills. I think that was only like 2 or 3 drones that got killed there, so for about 800 minerals worth of Hellions, that wasn't really worth it. Okay, so it looks like Animal Mother is heading out on the map now. Huge hits on the mutas, killing quite a lot of them. And this Liberator positioning is really going to have to do it. If these Liberators all get stacked up and go into siege mode versus all these roaches, I mean, that's going to be death for them. It'd be so easy for those corrosive battles to hit them off. And yeah, just not doing the greatest a job, losing his entire air army here. And this Corruptor getting hit by like 9 Liberators and not dying. And we have more corrosive battles coming down, and I think Wilda's Doom can just keep corrosive battling the spots that these Liberators wouldn't have it. And I don't think he's going to be able to make these Liberators cost efficient. Oh god, look at that. Huge amount of stacked Liberators all getting killed in a blaze of glory. And that is GG. Animal Mother calls it, and Wilda's Doom will take game number 2. Okay, so for our next series, it's going to be Animal Mother versus Micro, otherwise known as Terradine. Or, well, I guess Animal Mother is otherwise known as Terradine. Alright. So let's see what the first map is. Abyssal Reef. This will be pretty fun. Probably going to see a mech game versus Protoss, which is going to be great. I love seeing mech versus Protoss, even though Protoss is such an easy time dealing with it. But anyways, loading into our first set here of this best of 3. It's going to be on Abyssal Reef. Alright, so down in the bottom right corner in the red, we have our Terran player, Animal Mother. And in the top left, spawning as the teal Protoss, we have Micro. See that twist? That was sick. Okay, gas first opening here for Animal Mother, which, you know, makes me happy. It's going to be building some mech units. Mech units are fun units. Okay, so this is probably like the 700th time I've said okay. It's just like, you know, every caster kind of has their like thing that they say like all the time. That's just gonna be mine. I'm gonna be the fucking Ramus caster. You know, Ramus from League of Legends. You guys know what game that is? Alright, so it looks like an Gate Nexus core here coming out for our Terran player. Necro's what's a Ramish? You know, it's like Ramadan or something? I don't know. Now, since TVP is a lot harder to make mech happen, like Protoss units are just way too strong for the Terran factory units to really deal with. Yeah, that's me. So an adept coming out here first. Oh. I guess Hades, or otherwise known as Ace Blade, otherwise known as a bunch of other things, just disconnected. He wasn't actually in the game, but it's just from replay, obviously. In case anyone was wondering. Oops. So we do have a robo opening here. That's going to be pretty good versus any mech openings. And I'm not sure what this is going to be. It looks like he's going to be going for like a Cyclone Bunker Rush. This is interesting. Alright, and they do see that adept immediately. So this will be nice for Necro, as he does get a bit of forewarning to this. I don't think this is going to happen very well. Or go down very well, I should say. Mothership Core, though, is an out. And I mean, this Cyclone's a very good unit. Really going to need to... oh, I guess he's not even going to build bunkers. He's just using those to repair. That's pretty interesting. Even going to call... this is a very, very weird rush. Unfortunately, that Mothership Core will come out now, and that's probably going to... sorry, Pollen Overcharge. This Marine staying in the zone too long. Going to take some damage. Okay, second Cyclone does come out. How will Necro hold this? This is actually very cute. I mean, this could definitely kill this Nexus. We don't have any units out here, and Immortal will finally finish in just a moment. And yeah, Animal Mother really has to make the decision between killing units and killing that Nexus. And looks like he chose the decision to kill units. If he just kept targeted down on that Nexus, maybe he could have killed it. I'm not sure. It's a hard call to make, but that Mothership Core was very exposed, and he did pick it off. The issue is that back at home, Animal Mother's base is kind of lacking. We don't have a third CC up yet. It's almost about 5 minutes into the game. Yeah, that was a pretty dedicated push, and he did lose quite a few units for it. He should be okay back at home. Like, he's not going to die to a Protoss follow-up just yet. But still, in a pretty poor situation overall, I would say. That definitely did turn out how he imagined it. Okay. And no more Immortals on the production tab, so I guess Necro doesn't know about Animal Mother being pretty much a mech-only player. I think most players would have, if they knew Animal Mother's playstyle, they would just spend out like 6 Immortals. Because it's going to be so good versus anything that Animal Mother can make. The first observer is just going to scout out the entire base here for Animal Mother, see what's up. Animal Mother really hasn't made a commitment to attack yet. He hasn't plopped down the 2 extra factories or the 2 extra barracks. So it's going to be hard to tell exactly what's coming. We do have a tech lab on that starport instead of any reactor. So that leads me to believe that we're probably going to see a Raven or even a Banshee coming out of that factory. Okay, so it looks like he does see that observer, and he does pick it off. Nicely done there. And meanwhile, though, we do have a third Nexus coming up for a Protoss player. This has been kind of a stunted game for both the players. Not really going towards anything too quickly, as they did do that rush, so they won't be able to produce anything that too quickly is what I meant to say. They do have a Warp Prism coming in here, and it's going to warp in some Adepts. Although that Warp Prism will get denied by the Viking, these Adepts will try to make their way inside. I'm going to cancel that Shade actually and just back off. 3 more Adepts in that Warp Prism, and that Viking's just going to keep patrolling, it looks like. It's not watching this area though, so the Warp Prism could sneak through. Just looks like he's just going to wait for that Warp Prism shields to recharge before he does anything. But yeah, Protoss is in a pretty good position. He's at 50 probes. Terran's 3rd CC is only about halfway done. And we have a couple tanks out here, and 2 more factories on the way, and an armory. So upgrades will get started here pretty shortly. I really feel like if you're going to be meching versus Protoss, so you really need to be getting out that 3rd CC a lot quicker. You need to be getting out those upgrades a lot quicker. But I guess still very hard to make work. Another observer does go down. Sorry. And charge some more immortals on the way here. It looks like he realizes that this is probably going to be mech, kind of by the amount of turtling that we see Animal Mother doing, and by the fact that we don't see combat shields. So you can probably guess what's happening. So also building photon cannons at every base, just making sure that he's safe. And Animal Mother will finally land his 3rd base. Yeah, again, I think Animal Mother is not really constantly making SCVs, which is a huge, huge problem, as mech needs such a good, like, economy base in order to function properly. So when you don't have these, like, you know, the worker count that you need, it's really hard to make your unit composition work. And meanwhile, some harass going on here, some Adepts dropping in into the natural, and SCV is not going to fight well versus Adepts. Those Adepts are actually getting quite a few kills. I didn't get a click on them. This micro was too fast. We even see a transition in the Stargate, probably going to be in the carriers later on, if this game progresses to that point, or even Void Rays. Really, anything out of the Stargate can beat pretty much any Terran unit if you mass them. And yeah, Micro can feel comfortable to just go into every tech tree, since he knows that he's not going to be attacked anytime soon. Going into charge, got quite a lot of immortals. Blue Flame will finish pretty shortly, which is good for Animal Mother. He really needs the Blue Flame on the Hellbats to deal with those charge lots. And getting some vehicle plating now. Interesting to note that he doesn't have 2 armories, just a 1. A lot of times as Terran, you really can't afford to be making 2 upgrades at a time if you're going for mech play matchups. So you kind of only focus on 1. I'm interested to know why he's only going for +1 armor though. I think he has +1 attack, right? Oh no, he doesn't. Interesting. And a huge Protoss ball of units over here, getting ready to assault here. Doesn't have cloak on that Banshee just at all. Unfortunate there. It really would have been nice if he had picked off that Guardian, or not the Guardian, Sentry, because the Guardian shield wouldn't be active in the fight. But all these units charging in, these Hellbats do have Blue Flame, and they will do okay versus these Zealots, but still the Zealots being able to get on top. And so many Immortals here just going to keep doing damage to all these tanks, and more Zealots getting warped in. Zealots are so good versus mech units. Really, that Blue Flame just can't do enough damage, and that Banshee will clean up that Sentry, but still, this entire food base is going to have to be sacked. And the Hellbats do finally clean up some more Zealots here, but these Protoss units are going to keep destroying all the structures at this food base location. Battlecruisers on the way now for Animal Mother. One of them about half done, but still, Protoss player is on 4 bases. I don't think there's much that Animal Mother can do to make this work. And you do have a transition into that fleet beacon. Only one Stargate, I think, on the map currently. That was the Structures FT. Yeah, only one Stargate currently, but still, one battlecruiser versus, you know... I guess he's producing more and more battlecruisers. I guess he's not in too bad of a spot just yet. Like, this is still going to be very hard for him to make work, mind you. And the Protoss player has done a lot of damage, but we'll have to see how well these battlecruisers can fare. First one is out. I guess that's probably why he was getting that +1 the armor, because it affects the battlecruisers as well. Alright. God, it takes so long for battlecruisers to kill things. That's a huge ball of Protoss on the map currently. Those Archons are so scary. And some Tempest actually coming out. Another great choice. Tempest are another great area that Protoss can make. And they do kill pretty much everything that Mech can make. It's really going Hellbat heavy here. Knows that he needs to deal with those Zealots before they can get on top of the tanks. But, yeah, looks like kind of poor positioning here. Those Hellbats a bit exposed. Actually going to be taking quite a lot of splash damage from these Archons. And looks like we got our first Yamato cannons out here. Going to fire at some of those Archons. Those Stalkers are shift-clicked onto those battlecruisers, and they're going to take... Oh, almost one gets taken out, but it recalls. Another Yamato goes down, takes out another Archon. Still a lot of Immortals on the field, and I think he can just keep warping in Stalkers and eventually overwhelm here. I don't know where that one battlecruiser warped to. Okay. I guess it just warped like over here or something. But they will be getting repaired. There's no splash damage here in the form of siege tanks, as most of the gas is being committed to those battlecruisers. I guess it's... I'm not sure if he has enough production really to be able to spend all his money, actually, is the main problem. Yeah, he only has one Tech Labs factory, and he sees all the bases, and yeah, GG. He knows he can't afford to keep fighting versus the Protoss. And it's just going to turn into a slow death. I feel like he was a lot closer, though, in that game than he was in a lot of his other ones, but I guess that's the general feel about Protoss at the moment. Okay, so 1 second here. We'll be getting into game 2 here pretty shortly. Oh, whoops. That was muted this whole time. Or at least part of the time. I'm talking now. Fuck. I have no clue. What have we done? Yeah, I was just holding like using the middle mouse button. Maybe it was one of them. I don't know. Fuck it. Let's just restart this replay. Actually, yeah, I'm not. Oops. This is gonna be faster than fucking around for like 20 minutes. Let's just never use the rotate hotkeys again. I think it'd be funny if I got back in and it was like default set to that rotation. Okay, starting off our game again. We have the bottom left and not bottom left. This is opposite bottom left. It is Necro. Okay. What a day. I always seem to make these like mistakes while I'm doing these things. Every time I find out something cool, it fucks my game up. That is life. Oh well, at least I got these scenes like switched or changers or whatever working okay. So I can just use hotkeys now, and I'm not clicking the wrong ones anymore. It's going okay. Now, this is the boring part. Where players just macro. Okay, so I guess interestingly, this game we don't have a Reaper fast expand, or in fact, yeah, we don't have a Reaper at all. Just going for a Marine into a fast factory. So, if what did I say? I can't remember. Every time I say something, like I just immediately forget whatever I said. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a you know, similar build as last time where he got that one base like Cyclone Marine pressure. Pretty interesting build, but I don't think it's going to work out quite as well the second time. Fuck. Okay, after this series, I think I'm done for the night. I've casted about, like, let's see, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least like 8 or 9 games. And even casting legends like myself need to sleep. Yeah, this does look like the similar build to what he used last time. Okay, so we have the Cyclone and the Marines heading out here. I actually don't like this move as much on this map. This ramp is very narrow, and it's also the only access point into the base. So to get up here, and I mean the natural's in base as well, so it's going to be a lot more difficult, and you really only need to hold the top of the ramp. And he has his units already in position, so there's not going to be any sneaking up from Animal Mother here. And unfortunately, I don't think this build's going to pay off as well. And as we've seen in the last game, like when you do this build and it doesn't pay off, you just don't transition as well into a later game. And that Nexus Cannon does go down, and it damages that Cyclone quite heavily. Although that is the only Nexus Cannon available. So maybe if we have another Cyclone and some Marines, you know, this could still work. Okay, but there is an Immortal here now. I guess if he goes up here, he can just maybe trade okay versus some units. Yeah, this Immortal's gonna just end this straight up. He's not gonna be able to trade very well at all. In fact, only killing a single adept through this entire thing. Oops. Just not, yeah, the time, as Lumia said in chat, timing window is done. Oh man, I could make such a nice meme out of that if I had the time to pause the game and like open up Paint. I'm not sure if anyone's seen that one where it's like Shaq going in a car and he's like in a drive-thru and he's like, "Hello, food." It's like, "Sorry, food machine broken." It's like, understandable. Have a nice day. It's like my meme of the month. I don't even know what it's called. Nyko is really far up in supply, actually, from just holding that push. I actually want to see, do units go over the top of that? Okay, yeah. Widowmine shot going to go down, and he does a lot of damage and activates that Immortal's shields. So, pretty good Widowmine placement there, and there's also a siege tank here as well. With this bunker and that siege tank, it's going to be pretty hard for Nycro to break him immediately here. Although 2 Immortals will bust a bunker pretty quickly. And these adepts are going to shade right on top of these tanks as Nycro goes in. And so these tanks are pretty much killing each other at this point. One tank kills the other tank. This is, it's like that Bible story with the brothers, and they kill each other. Yeah, that one. I don't remember what it's called. It's like Cain and Abel, right? I don't know. But anyways, alright, so these Immortals come up, and they will be able to just target down that tank. And yeah, this looks to be the end here for Animal Mother. I don't think he can fight this with anything he has coming up. He has a Banshee on the way, but I don't think that can kill those Immortals in time for them to like ruin everything. And even then, he's lost so many units. As Mac, you really need to, versus Protoss especially, just kind of like progress well through the game. And 3 adepts actually shading into the back. Really unfortunate. They're going to be able to get more and more worker kills. And yeah, this is going to be a tough one here for our mech player. not going to be able to make it happen versus the Protoss race, as Protoss is too OP. But again, very well played games coming out here from Micro actually. Just really knowing what to do versus mech, not being too aggressive. I see a lot of players when they see mech, they immediately assume like, okay, I gotta kill him really quickly. But Necro's not really like overreacting by any means. He's just like simply pressuring and using his units well. Like a lot of players would have just like clicked on the bunker and then killed everything in the bunker and then onto those tanks earlier. But Necro smartly knowing that you need to shade onto the tanks in order to distract their fire while your units kill the bunker. And just macroing pretty well throughout this game. It's on a 4th base now. It's coming up. Oops, gonna kill these rocks as well. These immortals have quite a lot of kills on them. Meanwhile, over here for Animal Mother, oh, some more harass coming down, even more workers dying. And his opponents have 70 workers, and that's never a place you want a Protoss player to be in. Even though mech is efficient, it ain't that efficient. Excuse me. So these Banshees will be able to clean up most of these adepts, but they will shade over here and pick off even more workers. And this is delaying the amount of gas being able to be mined here by Animal Mother by so much. Meanwhile, Nitro is getting out his first carrier. Will we see battle cruisers versus carriers in a fight to the finish? Some more adepts gonna run up here, probably be suicided for the cause. And the wall is down too. These adepts can get right in here and shade right on top of that tank if they feel like. Okay, actually gives away his position and the tank goes up. Adepts won't be able to get inside, but yeah, GG is called. I think Animal Mother realizes the position he's in. And Necro is going to take that series 2-1. Or 2-0, sorry. Yeah, that would have been... There's a carrier somewhere. What? The fucking... Necro, you pussy, you cancelled it. You cancelled it to build a Tempest. Oh. Disgusted. Alright. So, yeah, that's going to be the end of